everybody, welcome to another lesson of learning Japanese. Today we're going to cover how to use a plain form of a verb, an adjective, or a noun combined with the phrasing kamo shirenai or kamoshiremasen to mean it might be noun or it might be adjective or might verb. So as you may have already guessed from the structure of the grammar pattern itself, this form is used when you want to express something with a certain degree of uncertainty. This is going to translate basically flawlessly to the English word might, in which you think that there's a likeliness that this is possible, but at the same time you're not completely sure. So if we were to analyze the whole structure of this in Japanese, what we have is the plain form of something that you're going to use, whether that be a noun, an adjective, or a verb, whatever that is, it's going to be in its plain form. Of course, we know from previous videos that the plain form here isn't in itself a conjugation form. It's kind of an umbrella category for other forms, and that includes the dictionary form, the nai form, and the ta form. Those are probably the three most prominent. And what does this tell us? It tells us that we can use this form in the present tense and the past tense and the negative tense too. So that's important to note there. Followed by the particle ka, and ka here is going to denote the question form basically. After ka, we have the particle mo, which means also. We've covered this in previous videos. Then after that, we have the verb shirenai or shiremasen, and this is the verb shiru, to know, in its negative nai form or negative polite form, whichever one you want to use. And if we combine those all together, basically we have that little blank that we're going to use. We have a question, we have an also, and then we have what translates to don't know. So this whole form basically literally translates to it can't be known if also this in question mark form, and it's going to more naturally translate to it might be this, or it may be this, or it possibly is this, or might verb, or may verb, or yeah. So as I said already, what you can use in the blank is pretty open to whatever you want to use. You can use a noun, a verb, or an adjective, and let's go through some examples that uses all of those. So for our first example, we have the sentence Ashita kouen ni iku kamoshiremasen, and this translates to tomorrow I might go to the park, or I might go to the park tomorrow. Let's break down the sentence. So let's break down the sentence bit by bit. First up, we have Ashita, which of course means tomorrow. We have kouen, which is the noun for park. We have ni, the particle that is denoting a location, which is the park. We have iku, which is the verb to go, and here it's in its dictionary form, which is a plain form, which makes it usable in this grammar construct. And then after that, we simply have the expression that we use, kamoshiremasen. So kamoshiremasen, which translates to might or may, is modifying the verb iku here. So this is going to be might go or may go, and we combine that with the rest of the sentence, and it translates to I might go to the park tomorrow, or I may go to the park tomorrow. Ashita kouen ni iku kamoshiremasen. For our next example, we're going to use a verb in this grammar construct again, but we're going to use a verb in its past tense just to get a feel of that. Our example sentence is kare wa mo kono eiga o mita kamoshirenai. And this translates to he may have already seen this movie, and the context you can probably guess is probably a group of friends are deciding if they should invite this person to watch the movies with them, and someone steps out and says he may have already seen it. So let's break down the sentence bit by bit. First up, we have kare, which is going to translate to he here. We have wa, marking him as the topic. We have the particle mo, which means already. We have kono eiga, which means this movie. After that, we have the direct object particle o to mark movie as the direct object of the verb that's about to follow, which is miru in its ta form, so mita. And mita is the ta form, but it's still plain form, so we can use it with this grammar construct, which is exactly what we're going to do. So we modify mita with kamoshirenai, and so that is going to translate to might have seen. Combine that with the rest of the sentence. Might have seen what? Might have seen the movie. Who might have seen the movie? Kare. So he might have seen this movie already, and that is kare wa mo kono eiga o mita kamoshirenai. For our next example sentence, we're going to move into the adjectives, specifically an e adjective, and we're going to kind of base this off of the last example. And our simple sentence is kono eiga wa sugoku omoshiroi kamoshirenai. And this is simply going to translate to this movie might be very interesting or really interesting. Let's break down the sentence. First up, we have kono eiga. We know that means this movie. We have wa marking that as the topic of the sentence. We have the adverb sugoku that is going to modify the adjective after it, which is omoshiroi, which means interesting. So sugoku omoshiroi is going to be very interesting or really interesting. And our adjective that we have here, omoshiroi, it's an e adjective, and that is in its plain form. Omoshiroi is just the base form of the adjective, really, so it's automatically plain there. So we can modify it with kamoshirenai, and that is going to translate to may be interesting, might be interesting, possibly interesting. Combine that with the rest of the sentence. This movie might be really interesting. この映画はすごく面白いかもしれない. Next, we're going to move on to not adjectives and nouns, which share a pretty close relationship because usually under normal circumstances both require the des or the da at the end of a sentence if they're ending the sentence, or if it's not in the present tense, then whatever respective conjugation you need to put des or da into, such as the past tense. This applies to this grammar construct for the most part, but if we're using it in the non-past tense, the present tense, then we don't need to do this. So let's go to the examples now. For our first one, we have sono shiken wa kantan kamoshirenai. Let's break the sentence down. We have sono shiken, that test. Shiken means test, sono means that. We have wa marking shiken as the topic of the sentence. We have the na adjective kantan, which means simple or easy. Then we follow that simply with kamoshirenai, which means might be, so might be easy. Sono shiken wa kantan kamoshirenai. So of course note here, like I just said earlier, we're using this in the present tense, so we don't need to follow the na adjective kantan with des or da. We just simply omit that and add the kamoshirenai like we did earlier. However, now we're going to do the same example in the past tense, and our sentence is now sono shiken wa kantan janakatta kamoshirenai. And this sentence is saying that test might have not been easy. So everything's the same. We have sono shiken wa. Sono shiken is that test. We have wa marking it as the topic of the sentence. We have kantan again, this base form, but this time we follow it with the plain negative past tense of des, which is janakatta. And then right after that we have kamoshirenai to mean might be or maybe or possibly be. So altogether, sono shiken wa kantan janakatta kamoshirenai is that test may have not been simple or easy. For our last example sentence, we're going to use a noun with this grammar construct, and our sentence we have is ano kata wa sensei kamoshiremasen. And what the sentence translates to is basically that person might be a teacher. The context here might be something along the lines of two students on a campus seeing somebody, and one of them says that person might be a teacher, so we need to show respect to him or her, or something like that. So let's break down this sentence bit by bit. First up, we have ano kata. Ano basically means that. Kata is the polite form to address a person, so that person. We have wa marking that person as the topic of the sentence. We follow that with the simple noun sensei, which means teacher. So we have sensei, a noun, in its plain form because nouns are kind of just naturally in a plain form. So we can follow that with kamoshirenai or kamoshiremasen in this case. And that's exactly what we do. So sensei kamoshiremasen is might be a teacher. And we combine that with the rest of the sentence. So that person might be a teacher. Ano kata wa sensei kamoshiremasen. And so yeah, that is how we're using this expression kamoshirenai or kamoshiremasen with the plain form of whatever we want to use to mean might be this, may be this, possibly be this, or might verb, may verb, possibly verb, in whatever tense that is acceptable for use and that we want to use it in. So yeah.